All right, welcome back in. Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports, 920 The Jersey, 609-919-9200 is the telephone number if you want to hop on board with us. We are at the NFL Draft, and we're brought to you by Chickies and Pete's as we get ready for this Thursday NFL Draft in the year of 2017. And Matt Lombardo is going to hop on board with us in just a second. But before we bring Matt on, we were just talking about off the air how this is an NFL Draft where I don't care how plugged in you are and how many people you know and you think you know, no one knows how this thing is going to go. Because this is a draft where even the number one pick, it's not like in years past where it's Andrew Luck, okay, he's going to be the number one pick. Or maybe there's some drama where Eli Manning, you think he's going to be the number one pick, but then the next thing you know, he doesn't want to go to the Chargers. This is a wacky NFL draft, and we'll see how it unfolds. So now let's bring in Matt Lombardo from NJ.com. By the way, the new Eagles beat reporter saying, Mark Eckel, goodbye, enough of you, go to retirement, go to Myrtle Beach. And then they said, Matt Lombardo, we're going to bring you on board to be the Eagles beat reporter. So, Matt, great to see you. How are you?
Zach, thanks for having me on. And I think you're absolutely right about this. This is the one draft that I can remember where whether you're picking number 1, whether you're picking 14 where the Eagles are, whether you're number 6 where the Jets are at the moment, nobody has any idea. And I think that it's due in large part to the fact that there really aren't those elite quarterbacks in this class that everybody, quote-unquote, has to have. There's no Carson Wentz. There's no Jared Goff. There's no Dak Prescott, it doesn't seem. It's so deep at so many skill positions, so everybody's scrambling at the last second. And I think that we're going to be in a situation where pick by pick by pick, there's going to be a lot of drama tonight for all 32 teams, and the Eagles especially, sitting there at 14.
Who goes number 1 before we talk about the Eagles?
It's got to be Garrett, right? It has to be Garrett. And if I'm the Browns, I'm taking Myles Garrett number 1, and I'm not even worrying about the quarterback because you have so many holes on your roster. You're going to be up there again next year. You're going to be one of the top 5 picks next year. Maybe you get a Sam Darnold next year. Maybe there's another quarterback you like who actually has the potential to be a franchise quarterback. If I'm the Browns, I'm taking Garrett 1, and I'm taking a corner, whether I can get my hands on Lattimore, whether I can take a risk on Connolly, which I don't think any team is going to do in the top 15. But I'm pairing that defensive end with a corner, and I'm setting the foundation for my defense. Now, whether or not the Browns wind up doing that, that's anybody's guess. It's the Browns, right? And we all know that they're prone to making decisions where we all scratch our head.
They may draft a second baseman, honestly, the way that front office is set up. But you mentioned Conley. With Conley, I know the public opinion is guilty until proven innocent. But in a litigious situation, it's innocent until proven guilty.
Sure.
Tonight, I don't think he goes tonight. I don't even know if he gets picked in this draft. I would say he maybe falls into the third round. If I'm guessing, I'd say third round. But to see where he goes, this is going to be a major storyline, and it is one right now.
Yeah, it's basically La'el Collins 2.0. And I know a lot of people have talked about that this week, but I remember sitting in a Starbucks in Chicago last year, the day of the draft, and you're making phone calls, and you're checking in with people, and you're reading Twitter, and you got the sense that this guy wasn't going to get drafted because it was an open-ended situation. And you fast forward to Conley, Zach, he's not even meeting with the police until Monday. So this is an uncertain situation. And again, neither of us, nobody out there other than less than a handful of people in that room that know what actually went on. And I don't think that there's a team that's going to invest a first-round pick in Garyon Conley. And I tend to agree with you that if he goes in round 3 or round 4. If he doesn't go by that point, I think he's on the fast track for undrafted free agency.
I'm going to make your job easy. Imagine if this is the draft that they get.
Let's do it.
Barnett, 14 overall.
Okay.
2, Joe Mixon in the second round. 3, Gary and Conley. 3 guys. 1, Barnett, fine, no issues. Then the other 2, now major issues. And that makes your job easy. And I think the fan base, even though what Mixon did was heinous, if you could walk away with 3 potential guys that should have been first-round picks in the first 3 rounds, I think the fans will kind of like it.
And it's a great haul. It's 3 first-round graded talents at 3 of your biggest positions of need on the roster. And, Zach, I'll go a step further. Forget what the fans think because they're going to love these guys because they're playmakers and they're first-round graded prospects. But I think the organization, the Eagles maybe more so than any other team in the league, they've been down this road before. They have a track record now of, if you can play, if we view you as having the talent to contribute on this football team, we're going to give you a shot. We've got the security department with Dom and his people. Jeffrey Lurie has a track record of whether it's Michael Vick, whether it is Riley Cooper, whether it's last year Nigel Bradham, and the list goes on and on and on. They tend to give these second chances. They tend not to hold off-the-field concerns too far over the heads of these players. And even last year's draft class, Alex McAllister issues, Jalen Mills issues. Why would this be any different, especially with first-round graded talent?
Yeah, with Douglas and Roseman, where's your confidence level with that duo, where now every time I just hear them speak and they do these press conferences, I really just want to play that Just the Two of Us music.
Right.
And it's kind of comical how much they are just such great synergy right now. So with those two, Roseman and Douglas, what's your confidence level in them?
Well, I'm a lot more confident in Joe Douglas, given the track record. And I think there's a lot you can glean from there. And I wrote this morning on NJ.com the 10 things I think about the draft, my final 10 thoughts. And one of my big takeaways was...
Where's Saquon Barkley?
Yeah, right. Somebody actually asked about Saquon Barkley for next year's draft, and I felt I had to, categorically deny that I did not ask about Saquon Barkley. He'll be the first running back off the board next year, but that's 2018. But I think when you look at Joe Douglas, you look at the track record. He was the head national scout for the Baltimore Ravens for 4 years. 3 of those years, their first pick was defense. You look at Jim Schwartz, 2 positions that his scheme is predicated on more than any other, defensive end and cornerback. I think that if there were no issues whatsoever, that these accusations didn't come out against Gareon Conley, I think Conley's the pick. Or Conley goes higher on the board because he was rising up draft boards, and maybe Marshawn Lattimore falls to you. But I think given their track record, given the needs on defense, given the depth at wide receiver and running back, quality players you can get in later rounds, I really think that a guy like Derek Barnett, or maybe you move back or you sit there and take a Marlon Humphrey, or if you really want to go offense, I think it comes down to Christian McCaffrey or Mike Williams. Who do you like more? And I think in that room, there might be some debate between the two, between Douglas and Roseman, and I know that Roseman is very high on Christian McCaffrey.
If it's John Ross, your reaction?
They better be right. They better be right, because it's one thing for a guy to have game-breaking speed, and he certainly has that, but there's also the medical concerns, and who else was on the board? If they take a John Ross over someone like Barnett, if they take John Ross over McCaffrey, I might take issue there. But if he's the best player legitimately on their board and Barnett is gone and Solomon Thomas is long gone and the corners go, then whatever. If that's their number one wide receiver and that's their guy.
Is it the same thing for you with Corey Davis, if that's the pick?
I like Corey Davis a little more than John Ross.
I'm in the same way. I go Williams 1, Davis 2, Ross 3.
Yep, I flip a coin between Davis and Williams. I think they're, in terms of skill set, I think that Davis is a more complete player. I think there might be a higher ceiling with Mike Williams, and I have Ross as my number 3. But if you get a Corey Davis, you have a guy who has near elite speed. He's physical. He's a touchdown machine. Has a history for going up and catching contested balls. He's the type of weapon on the outside that can really grow alongside Carson Wentz. Mike Williams, to a lesser extent with the speed, better hands than Corey Davis. But John Ross, I see elite speed, but I don't see much else.
The real Matt Lombardo with us right now on the Zach Gelb Show. What is this nonsense I'm hearing about all these rumors that you're spreading or some fake account is spreading?
Yeah, apparently there's a renegade Lombardo out there reporting that the Eagles are trying to trade up to number 5 with the Tennessee Titans.
You heard it here first. Lombardo just said it.
Look for the blue check mark, okay? If there is no blue check mark, it doesn't pass the test.
Wait. Is this the first time there's ever been a fake Matt Lombardo account?
This is probably about the second, but this one actually has enough followers to make you think that, wow. You know what, maybe.
How's your phone blowing up from this? Are people saying, like, what are you reporting? Like,
yes.
What the heck is wrong with you?
Yes, and I had an email from the editor. Why is this on Twitter and not written? I said, is there a blue check mark?
Wow, your editor messed it up? I don't want to get you in trouble. You just got the job. The last thing I need is Zach Gelb gets Matt Lombardo fired. But, wow. That one's happened to me. When Revis was a free agent, I saw a fake Ian Rappaport, and I retweeted it, and he said, the Patriots, 2 years ago, he's going back to the Jets. And it ended up being true.
Sure, but you did not report it.
Oh, no. I just retweeted it, and everyone goes, you got to look for the blue check mark. And I'm like, all right, enough is enough.
My nightmare is that this tweet that's making the rounds winds up on Bleacher Report. That is the nightmare.
Always happens.
Yes.
I tweet something out, it goes right on Bleacher Report. So luckily there's not a fake Zach Gelb. All right, Getting back to the Birds.
Yep.
With Mixon and Cook. How do you view Mixon and Cook?
I think Mixon's the better player. I think that if all things were considered, Joe Mixon's probably in the conversation for the second best running back in this draft behind Fournette. Cook, nice player, fumble issues, medical concerns with the shoulder. No picnic off the field for Dalvin Cook either. So if I'm the Eagles and I'm sitting there at 43 and I'm saying to myself, okay, I filled the wide receiver void, I got a cornerback or I got an edge rusher in round 1, let's go looking for targeted players of need in round 2. If the top 2 on my board are running backs and it's Mixon and it's Cook, give me Joe Mixon. Because I think that it appears to be an isolated incident. It seems as though the victim has been saying all of the right things and has forgiven him. The Eagles have the apparatus in place to absorb any public backlash, and I just think he's a better fit for this scheme than Dalvin Cook.
If it is one of those 2 players, and for the Eagles it would be in the second round, but are they going to be around? Do you see tonight maybe one of those players goes in the first round?
I think of the 2, Cook has the best chance. I think if either of those 2 running backs go off the board, the best chance is Cook going 19 to Tampa Bay. Because you look at the Buccaneers, obviously they need a running back. They brought in Deshaun this offseason. They have the franchise quarterback in Jameis Winston. They have Mike Evans. Missing ingredient is a dual-threat running back, which Dalvin Cook happens to be. If I'm Tampa Bay and I'm 19 and he's sitting there, I got to think long and hard about it.
Hey, by the way, since we have you here, how about the eyes of Carson Wentz?
Yeah, how about that? How about that? Better than me. I had to sleep in the same pair of contacts the last 2 nights because I didn't realize I had run out of my supplies. So good on Carson to go get that LASIK surgery.
Did people know about this? Was this something you knew about or no?
This just popped. I
right?
learned.
I saw it today and I go,
did.
wow.
Yeah. That was about my reaction.
Maybe the
wow.
fake Matt Lombardo knew. All right, before we let you run, because you are someone that did a mock draft, we saw it pinned on your Twitter.
Yep.
I know those things change.
Yep.
So with the Eagles, just one more time, give
Sure.
me your pick.
Number 14, Derek Barnett.
Okay, I'm fine with that. 6 with the Jets.
See, that gets crazy because you could see Fournette take a tumble. You could see Marshawn Lattimore go off there, or you could see a quarterback. So, most likely scenario, I'm going to say they wind up taking Marshawn Lattimore.
Do you put a chance? What's the chance that you give it be O.J. Howard?
40%.
Okay, fair enough. And you actually had them going Trubisky. in your mock draft.
Yep, but now you have
I don't
all
think
these
he'll
teams.
be there.
I don't think he's. I mean, again, this was on Friday,
Yeah,
so these
fair
things have changed. And as of now, I think the quarterback goes. Somebody jumps the Jets.
I think it goes at 5.
Yep, I agree.
I think Tennessee. We heard that from Schefter.
Yep.
I think they make a trade, and then finally. The Giants at 23. You had Watson, if I'm not
I had
mistaken.
Watson just because I think that you could see them take a developmental quarterback. But if they're concerned about sending the wrong message to that locker room, I think they wind up going outside of the quarterback realm. So, twist my arm, I'll say they take the best offensive lineman available if it's not Deshaun Watson.
With Watson, and I've heard that before. Giants need a quarterback. Watson, a little bit of a project. Just though with the Giants, you look at where they are. Eli, older, was not good last year.
Nope.
Eli needs an offensive lineman. We just talked about
Yep.
that. They also need a running back. I really believe that it's either going to be Bowles or it's either going to be Ramczyk or maybe Dalvin Cook. I don't think they're going Cam Robinson because we were talking to him the other day.
I think he could tumble.
There's very little interest, with the conversations
Yep.
with the Giants and him. But I think those 2 offensive linemen and Dalvin Cook – and maybe the Giants don't do that because of what happened with Brown and
right.
all the issues. But
and I think that
23 is
they're an
interesting for the
organization.
Giants.
I think they're an organization that has 2 issues working against them right now. Number 1, Eric Flowers, very late bloomer, if he's even bloomed to date. Right. Number 2, they got jumped last year and had to settle on Eli Apple, missed out on their top targets. And number 3, they're kind of in that win now mode, but also have to start looking ahead to the future. So if they like a Dalvin Cook, if they like a player, I wouldn't be shocked to see them move up, but I could also see them selling to their fan base. We're taking Deshaun Watson. We're going to Aaron Rodgers him. We're going to sit him for 2 or 3 years behind Eli. He's going to pass the torch, and then we're going to see where we are.
Do you think Watson is the best quarterback in this draft?
I have him and Trubisky almost even, and I think Pat Mahomes isn't far behind him. I know it's a cop-out, but I'm not in love. I'm in like with these quarterbacks.
I don't like any of these quarterbacks.
I'm not in love with any of them. If I were the Eagles, I'm thanking my lucky stars that I convinced both the Titans and the Browns to let me move up to go and get Carson Wentz last year.
Now, one more thing. Who's more credible, The fake Matt Lombardo or Eli Manning's memorabilia? Answer the question.
It's got to be Eli Manning's memorabilia because I'm going to back the bus up and run over this fake Matt Lombardo 50 times between now and pick one tonight, Zach.
Would you take the fake Matt Lombardo to a Penn State game next year?
Hell no.
That's reserved for Dad, right?
Absolutely. Dad and the wife.
What do you think Penn State's going to do next year?
I think they're a playoff team. I think that the one spot on the schedule that scares me is at Columbus. I think that Michigan takes a step back this year. They lost a lot to graduation, and I look in the Big Ten East. If you can survive at 11-1 with your only loss being to Ohio State in October, that should get you into a playoff spot.
One more thing, just because we'll bring it up since we mentioned Penn State. We'll get the actual local feel here, and that's Temple, my alma mater.
Yeah.
So with Hassan Reddick, who's we're going to have on today at 5 o'clock, so not that far away in 12 minutes. With Hassan, if he goes to the Eagles, your reaction would be?
Great story. I don't know that he's a great fit because I don't know that he's going to be your prototypical wide nine defensive end. I think that in terms of skill sets, he's kind of similar to a Michael Kendricks in that he's a rush linebacker, and the Eagles don't typically use their linebackers in blitz packages or pass rush. It'd be great to see him come home. I think the fans would love it. It would be a great story, and really, in a lot of ways, it would give more validation to the Temple program. Seeing Hassan Reddick wind up in Philly, I just don't think schematically this is the right fit for him. I think that the Lions are a team that could use him, and I think that there are a couple other teams in round one that are needy of a linebacker or an edge rusher that would be better fits.
Lions at 23, and I'm not someone that kills people for their mock drafts because Lions at 21, excuse me. I know how much the Lions do love him. When's the earliest you think he goes? We've seen some people say top 10.
Yeah, I think he could be a top 15 pick.
Wow.
I think I have him pegged in a couple of my mock drafts, 21 to the Lions, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him go a couple spots higher than that.
Did Mark Eckel give you, like, the passing of the torch? Was it a big ceremony? Because we had Eckel on every week during football season.
You can pass that torch. I'm willing to take that baton and run with it if that's the invitation here.
There's a few gift cards with it. There's no money.
I'll take what I can get, my friend.
Matt Lombardo, great stuff. Thanks so much.
Zach, thanks for having me on.
There's Matt Lombardo joining us from NJ.com on the Zach Gelb Show.